Once again, okay. So I'm gonna do the official intro. So good evening. Welcome to the third episode of the Spooky Second podcast, hosted by the Alfred State Paranormal Investigation and Urban Exploration Club. Tonight we will have JD, the club president, Sophie, the club vice president, and Boots talking with Tim Shaw, a local paranormal investigator. He has a lot of experience with the paranormal and been involved with quite a few amazing projects, including authoring books and being featured on TV shows. So, Tim, how did you get involved with the paranormal?
Well, let's see. The religion of spiritualism has been in my family since the 1880s. So that was the golden age. They consider that the golden age of spiritualism. And growing up, I went to a parochial school, but during the summer we'd go to the Lilydale Assembly, which is a spiritualist, uh, I would say, an enclave in Western New York. And I really I really got fascinated with it. And I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, I was a hellion. I mean, I at Lilydale they have like a season where tourists come in and people take classes and go for readings and that sort of thing. And we used to go and ride our bikes into groups of people and cause hell all over the place. So they enrolled us in what they call Lyceum, which is spiritualist day school or Sunday school, and that's where I cut my teeth. And that was like in the 70s, like 72. I was like 9 or 10 years old. And that really stuck. It really stuck. Everything I learned down there was fascinating. And we were going into this age back in the 70s where everything that was hidden, all this esoteric knowledge, uh, became more and more mainstream. So the first psychic fairs started, and uh, psychics and mediums weren't looked down upon anymore. And I just went with it. When I was like an early teen, I was part of a group that we went out doing what they call spirit rescue circles, and that's basically paranormal investigations without meters and all that stuff, and just going out there and doing these circles and trying to do contact work, and then try to convince the spirit who may be stuck or whatever to go on, and to call down friends and family that are deceased to help that spirit go on. And back then, I mean, that was a pretty interesting thing, and that was pretty. When I think of it now, that was like way ahead of its time, hugely ahead of its time. And so that's how I got involved with it. And I was pretty hardcore into it up until my, I would say, late teens, and then I discovered booze and sex and rock and roll and cars and that sort of thing. And I went back to it after I got married. I got married in 1982, and I really got really serious into it. I had been chosen as a gallery reader, which is a you stand during the spiritualist services, and you bring forth messages. And I was kind of picked at that because my voice could always carry. Back in that day, there was nobody really had like PA systems or that. So you had to be able to go and hit the back of the room or the back of the church that you were serving and let it bounce back at you. So you had to have that type of voice. So I had, some experience in that. And I didn't come back to it probably till 1986. And right around 1986, I really got hardcore in it and decided that I was going to go and I was going to study and I was really going to work with it. But that during that time that I was inactive, I still kept up on all the latest, stuff that was going on. I cut my teeth on Edgar Casey and Hans Holzer and all these phenomenal investigators back then, and it just stuck. And now, you know, I don't even want to think 40 years later. So I'm still hanging out, and I got to hang out with you cool guys. That's what's cool, you know. Now JD, because JD's got the hair. He's looking good. And Sophie's just looking good as it is, and that's all you have to know. And that's the main thing. That's the main thing. You guys are cool about it. That's what's cool.
Um, so you said that your family's been in it since like the 1800s, like in
Yep.
like aspect like psychic mediums, shamanism.
Believe they were both believers and mediums, and I've had so many. mediums in my family, my father's side. I mean, it's I would say like the first medium I probably ever met was my great uncle Gibb, who was a card reader, and that's not tarot, that's just regular playing cards. And he actually predicted the accident that his daughter was going to be in that killed her. And that's not knowing, of course, that it would be his daughter. So yeah, I've been influenced by it, and my parents used to. They weren't really religious, so by sending me to like a parochial school, that was like an oxymoron. I was like one of the worst students. I got in trouble. Like I think 7th or 8th grade, I wrote how they had give you those stupid essays. Gee, what did you do on your summer vacation? And I wrote about going to Lilydale and meditation and going to the healing temple and getting messages from my great grandfather and doing children's seances and that sort of thing. And everybody else would get their paper back, and I got a little envelope that had my mother and father's name on there, and we had to have a parent teacher conference. And basically, what happened was, my father said, to the nun, don't, no, that's my religion. Don't, you don't disparage it. If he wants to go that way, he goes that way. And she had said, the nun had said to my father, well, that's all right. I understand it, but don't try to tell him not to tell all his friends all about it. So my father came out and said, hey, stupid, don't tell anybody what you're doing. And of course, the next day I had to tell everybody what was going on. So, just to spite him. But yeah, I've the mediums in my family have been really a lot of old school mediums that have come up the ranks. So yeah, and again, the last set of mediums that I can remember in my family were in the Lilydale Assembly right up until I believe the late, I'd say the mid 80s, when they finally moved out and went, to another town.
So with that though, it's not like you have to already have the traits or the skills to do the medium, right? They teach you just from the start.
Everybody's got it.
Yeah.
Listen, JD, everybody's got it. You know what? When we were in that hunter-gatherer stage, way back when, you needed that sense in order to survive. That's the whole thing. You needed it. You had to have the tribal nuclear family had to be able to survive. And that's what they used it for. But the problem is the more that you become complacent, and we always equate it as you start living behind walls. You're not, you're in one area, you become an agricultural society, you start to lose it because you don't need it anymore. And the only people that really have it are priests and shamans and that sort of thing. But I always attribute it to something like muscle memory. And if you get the right teacher, they can pick you and get, work with you and get that to open up again. And so anybody can do it. You don't already have to have it. It depends now, but it depends on what you're good at. I'm not good at everything. I may lie a lot and tell people I am, but no, I'm not that good at it. I'm not good at everything. So as an instructor myself, it's up to me to figure out what a kid or a client or a student is good at, and then work on it, bring it up to a certain level, and then introduce something new to it where it complements it. Somebody could be clairaudient and not clairvoyant, so they're able to hear and get all these messages that way, and then they get to a certain point where they're pretty competent at it. Well, let's try something else. Let's go and do some visualizations. Let's work with that. And you start, believe it or not, you'll be surprised. It grows. And you just keep doing that. And the other thing I always tell people is you can't have one instructor. I have one mentor. Don't get me wrong. I have one mentor. But instructors, you've got to be able to get out there and you got to, work with all different people in the community. And then you've got to be able to go and not just stay like, I always say chain to a dogma. I probably am the absolute worst spiritualist you're going to meet because of the fact that I don't go for dogma. Dogma is just crap that's made by man. It's like religion. Religion is made by man. Spirituality, that's a whole different thing now. That's a covenant between you and deities and gods or whatever you want to. It's what works for you. Dogma is what controls you, and none of us need to be controlled, especially in this field. So anybody can do this stuff. And I was fortunate because early on I started working with Native Americans on their life ways, natural awareness. I took classes from Tom Brown Jr. at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. I was able to go and find some great shamans. Oh my God, fantastic shamans. I hung out. I hang out with my friends in the hoodoo and voodoo communities, the Appalachian communities, all the folkways, Santeria. I'm able to go and I'm able to learn from all of them. And that's what you have to do. You got to be well-rounded, because if you're myopic and you just go, well, this is only one way of doing things, you miss everything. You might miss that little key that like speeds things up or really gives you a better clarification. That's what you need. You can't just be, you can't be myopic. You can't be a book learner. You got to be out there and you got to be an experiencer. And that's what's important, getting out there and doing it. But yeah, I mean, anybody can do this. Just depends how deep you want to. It's called just how deep you want to jump down the rabbit hole, baby. That's the way it is.
So what do you think in like spirituality? Like, what is like the hardest for you? Because you mentioned how some people are good at like clairaudience, others aren't. Like, what do you personally find like to be like a difficult avenue?
You know what? I've always been clairvoyant, and I taught myself to go into like a clear hearing thing, and then the more I worked at it, I lost everything, and I only worked with the essence of things, which means I don't get words, I don't get images in my head. It just comes through the essence of sound, the essence of words, the essence of spirit, whatever that comes through. None of this other, I don't get any of this other stuff. And the hardest thing for me to do, and if anybody ever saw what we did on Portals to Hell with my friend Katrina Weidman and Jack Osborne, they brought me in as a bird dog. That's called, what we do is when you go into a location and you pick everything up, that's called bird dogging. And that I can do, no problem at all. A lot of people like think that's crazy. I can do that with no problem. The hardest thing for me to do is to pick an object up and get the vibrations off of objects. Can't do it. I can't psychometry. I can teach it. I'm not very good at it. So, I mean, you have to, and so what you do, what your fine arts are, and you really know what you suck at. So when you go out on these investigations, you only work with what you're really good at. That's the whole secret behind it. A lot of people like to use investigations as like, just little experiments, and I don't. I take it pretty seriously. So that's what that's the worst thing that I can do. But the other thing is Sophie, that's a good question. It's hard to explain that one. The other thing is I am more of an energy reader. I was taught, like, you've got guides and you've got this and you got that and you got deities and you've got all this stuff. And I'm one of these guys. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in the demons. I don't believe in angels. It's just energy. To me, it's all energy. We have, the higher frequencies. We have, energetic personalities, spirit personalities. It's all energy. And once you tap into that energy, you can pretty much figure out what's going on. But for some reason, I am like as dumb as a rock when it comes to trying to putting some in my hand and trying to figure it out. It just doesn't work no matter what I've tried.
Yeah, I feel that. That's how I am too. Like I can read like rooms and I can read people and animals, but when it comes to like objects, I can't do it at all.
No, it's tough. And a lot of people are very natural because you got chakra points. Now for like a healer, my hands get really hot when we're doing some kind of healing, Reiki, or we're doing whatever type of healing we happen to be doing at the time. And the chakra points and all your fingertips and that in your palm, it's really, they really get real super sensitive. that's like energy coming through and flowing through. But to actually pick that energy up and figure out who had this last, it just doesn't work. I have like all these haunted objects in my house. And to be honest with you, I pick up nothing. I would say almost nothing off of any of these objects I get. People
I
come in
was
and
just
give me
going to
stuff.
ask about that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. People come in and bring that stuff in, and it's like, oh, that's cool. If I get knockings or if I get like strange like noises and stuff in the house, okay, well then I'll do something with it. But right off the bat, when I grab something, got nothing on it.
What's like well, you said you have a hard time reading objects. Like, is there like a particular object that you've been given or have in your like collection that's like oddly haunted? Like,
I have dirt from the serial killer and cannibal Ed Gein's house, where the house was burnt, and a friend of mine went out there and was able to get a couple vials. That's weird, because of course, I mean, I had to open up the vial and put my fingers in it. That gives me like a little ick feeling, but for the most part, you know, it's there. So the ick feeling, is it my imagination, or is it the actual thing? And I've worked with some exorcists over the years, and they all said the same thing. It's something that's called the gift of discernment. And that's where you get like this funny feeling right in your solar plexus. And usually that's when I'm walking into something that may be a little iffy, you know, lower vibrations, nastier vibrations, something like that. Or you have a case, comes across your desk, and you sit there and you're reading it, and you get that ick feeling. It's kind of, yeah, this might be the real deal. Yeah, that's what I got off of that. But I love it. I love stuff like that because it's unusual, and it has a lot of historic value to it, but also it's something that witnessed an event. So, but it came right from after the house burnt, after he was committed to an asylum, somebody came in and burned the house to the ground. And of course, I mean, now it's all overgrown. You'd never even know where it is. And luckily my friend's friend actually knew exactly where the house was. So, you know, you gotta have these little things. JD, you can come over and we can hang out with that. You know, with that, we can drive around with it in the car, see what we get.
Yeah, I have to take you up on that offer.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what all is the Black Cat Lounge?
Black Cat Lounge is a back. Oh my God, how many years ago? It's got to be 20 years now. The Black Cat Lounge was a little radio show that we put together. Used to be on Para-X Radio, and it was Para-X was one of the first 3 paranormal internet networks in the U.S. And they were looking for hosts and stuff, and I kind of found it, you know, just kind of back then that podcasts were just really starting to take off, and you know, I contacted them, and we got talking back and forth. These 2 crazy brothers down in Kentucky, and they offered me a show. They offered me an hour show, and it was going to be more of a theater of the mind type deal. I was going to bring people on to be interviewed, and then of course in the background, because it was all audio back then, I went and I had like sound effects where it was like people talking real low and bottles and all that stuff, so it sounded like a real lounge. And people actually came to Buffalo and would contact me looking for where the Black Cat Lounge was. But it was I loved it because it was a great. I got a chance to interview some really important people like the late Raymond Buckland, and oh my God, I mean, there were just I can't even remember all the people that we had on the shows over the years. Some of the early pioneers of the TV ghost shows, and people, guys that produced docudramas, like the Booth brothers were on. I got a chance to talk to people who were saved by Bishop Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela because of their homosexuality in South Africa, and they had an unbelievable story to tell. It was an amazing time. We did that for 12 years. I was on CBS radio for a couple of years, during that time. So we were doing 2 shows per week. And finally, we decided that it got to the point where it got monotonous. So I stopped it, because by this time I was doing some TV stuff and I was starting to speak at conferences. It was starting to get harder and harder and harder to keep the show going. But when COVID hit, a bunch of us kind of sat down and said, hey, we got to do something. There's a lot of people, Facebook, social media, social media is a great thing until you start reading it, actually. And people were really, especially like March, it was terrible, like locally here in Western New York. And by April, it really was starting to take a downhill slide. So we decided that we were going to resurrect our old shows and, and just have fun with it. And I started it, and I've just never stopped. We've kept it going, and a few of my friends still have it going. And we said that we would do it for free. We would never join a network per se, where we had to pay for it. We would go and work to spread. Like in the beginning, I was like teaching. Basically, I was doing like free classes and stuff, and we were doing reading nights, and it was just fun, just to raise people's spirits, for an hour or so a week. And now I've just kept going, never stopped. I've never stopped yet. And it's great. And I think it's really fulfilling, and I have so much fun. And and what's really neat is the fact that I get a chance to share with a lot of people, like my friends. Like one of my best friends in the whole business is Dustin Perry, who's also, besides a ghost hunter, he's an inspirational speaker and motivational guy, and really just a great person. And he comes on the show, and now tomorrow I'll be talking about what happened on the USS Edson, where we were filming, and all the crazy stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's what I want it to be. I just wanted it to be fun. And in the beginning, I didn't even have like an intro or outro. I used my djembe and just banged on it, and that was how I used to bring in the show. So, but now we're a little bit more sophisticated because we're all on StreamYard, of course. But the Black Cat Lounge, I just think, is just a lot of fun. And I really hope that people get something out of it, whether it's just enjoyment or, just saying to themselves that Tim Shaw is not right in the head, or people get a chance to, like, I bring in people that have haunted, that own or run tours of haunted locations. So we get a chance to spread the wealth. People get a chance to get out there and enjoy it. And that's what the whole bottom line is. We're doing it for the fun of it. And, it's funny. One time I was, when I got picked up for one of the last network shows, StreamYard asked me to come on and talk. And I think that's not what they wanted me to, the stuff I said isn't what they wanted me to say, because basically they talk about numbers, and I'm not a number guy. I don't care about listeners. I don't care, I shouldn't say listeners, but listener numbers. That's the big thing. I've never been like that. Don't care. If 3 people are watching, I'm thrilled. If 100 people are watching, that's even better. If 1,000 people turn me on because I've got a guy like Nick Groff on or somebody, that's great. That's great. But basically what I told him, I said, it's you guys talk about a product. I said, well, I'm kind of like my own product. I don't have an agent anymore. Everything I do is I book through myself. And what I like to do is what's the important thing is just to get out there and share and just be out there. That's all. And you don't have to worry about it. And they were like, well, why wouldn't numbers help? I said, not really, because you want the important people to watch, producers, and you want TV people, or you want other investigators who may have like really great leads and want to talk to you about it. I love that, because a lot of people contact me because of the show and ask for advice. How do we handle this? How do we handle that? And it's great, because it's anybody can charge $1.99 a minute. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't really do a lot of freebies. And I got that from the demonologist and the haunted collector himself, Johnny Zaffis, because Johnny always has had his phone number public, and he's one of the first guys that will help you in a situation that you may not quite know what to deal with. And I'll tell you myself, I'll tell you truthfully, I mean, I've called on him quite a few times to, how do we lessen something? How do we move something, let's say, out of this area? We have a little problem going with, something with the electrical, anomalies. What's going on with that? How can we go and we've done A, B, and C. What's the next step? And Johnny's always got an answer for us. So that's where I got it from. And he does it for free. And that to me is great. And that's the way I work. That's the way I run stuff. It's just, you get a hold of me, and, it may take me, as JD will tell you, I'm not the quickest on everything because I'm usually out and about. But I'll tell you the truth. If I can, it takes me about 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get back to normal. Most people, if I have something that I really have to go and I have to explain. But yeah, that's you do that. You just do it for, you do it for the fun of it, and you do it to help. Sometimes it helps. Hopefully it helps most of the time.
Yeah, so I came across your Facebook page for the Black Cat Lounge. I seen that there was a maps thing on there, and that it wasn't that far from the Pure Oddities.
Oh, God, Joe. Yeah, Joe Piari has been a friend. We've been friends for, God, it's over 20 years now. And I try to support. I wasn't
sure if it was like an actual museum or if it would be your house that the address was.
Believe me, it's my basement. Look around me. I'm surrounded by dead people.
Yeah. Just didn't want to show up or something like that.
Well, someday come on up and we'll make arrangements. Listen, I don't have like this huge collection. I've got a decent collection of stuff that people have take out of my house, or I've gotten over the years, or people have sent to me. And Joe has some stuff. As a matter of fact, I gave him some of my overflow here, that I've gotten so much stuff. I've gotten way too many pieces, of certain things. So after I clear them, I give them to him. It's like Bullskin House. I've got some roofing tiles from I can't think of his name now. Alistair Crowley's house in Loch Ness, Scotland, that burnt. And I've got some roofing tiles from there. And in the bottom of the little bag was all these little shards. So I made them up a little frame, brought it in for him. That's what it's all about. Again, you share. And Joe's a riot. Joe's got a good shop going, and this fall he'll really be working. So
yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, there'll be a lot. I'm going to be there this fall a lot. I didn't take a lot of out of state gigs this year. Usually I'm out of state 5 to 7 times a year. I'm doing a larger conferences and stuff. But this year I decided I would just go and work locally, where it's I can actually sleep in my own bed for a change. Not either in a hotel or a ship's bunk. You never know where you're gonna end up sleeping.
You've also had the chance to work with Frank Kupka, right?
Kupka, Kupka man, yeah. Frank's a good guy. Frank's funny. He usually we go drumming together to a drum circle on Monday nights, and he's good. He's like a sponge. He loves everything about the metaphysical and paranormal communities, and he's forever working on different experiments and stuff. I think he met you up at Western Block, right?
Yes, and that was actually the place that gave me my greatest experience up to this point.
Oh, really? What happened there?
So downstairs in the basement, in the place that used to be the old machinery area, there was a set of chairs on the back wall for the guests to sit, and then there was a table across the room where the tour guides ended up sitting, instead of in a chair, but on the table. But then there was a row of chairs between us, and
Mm-hmm.
the room was pitch dark. The one lady's phone lit up for a split second, and sitting in the chair in front of me was the upper body of something that was like, it had like a design to it. It wasn't just black. It was
Right.
like a gray, but it had a like almost like a wicker type
Yeah.
design to it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what happens. That's like a well, you'll notice that a lot of times when you get apparitions, you get partials. You hardly ever do you get anything full. That's few and far between. But that place, yeah. Did he show you the security video?
Yeah, I don't understand how that would happen, but
Listen.
there's definitely something there.
I went out there and tried to duplicate it myself last time I was there. I can't figure it out. You know, I'm not saying it wasn't something natural, but I highly doubt it because of the way that the light shines and the way the shadow is. The shadows are pitched. You have to look at all that stuff. See, the problem with a lot of paranormal investigators is they get something and they get thrilled about it, and then they don't go any further. I like to try to send my stuff out. I have a couple friends that we circulate our evidence, and then I have a friend at a college that does audio work for me, and I'll send EVPs to him. And he can't tell me if it's an EVP, but he can tell me what it's not. It's not in this range. It's not in these decibels. And, you know, only dogs can hear it, you know, stuff like that. But you have to be able to go, and it's thrilling to get it, but you have to try to debunk it.
Exactly.
Because if you can't debunk it, somebody else isn't going to be able to debunk it. And, you know, if you want to share evidence with other people, you have to be able to go and make sure that it's as close to the real thing as you have been able to figure it out. And that's the big thing. And the other thing is a lot of people are afraid of debunking their evidence, and then they're all disappointed. My thing is that we're supposed to be truth seekers here, aren't we? We're supposed to be finding evidence out. We're all supposed to be ethically, we're supposed to be pushing the boundaries and to see what happens and to get what we can get and use the equipment that we have to its fullest measure. And really, we have to be honest with ourselves. And a lot of people aren't. A lot of people put some stuff up. There's not a week that goes by that I don't get an EVP with dust in it. There's not a week that goes by that somebody doesn't send me I shouldn't say an EVP, but a photo. The latest one is got the camera strap in it, you know. So, you know, it's something that it's easily debunked, you know. So you have to be really careful. Camera flare. You've got to look for this stuff. You've got to really study it and figure it out. And, you know, and when you do figure something out, you got to be kind about it. You don't want to go and just throw the stuff back in somebody's face. That's the important thing, you know, and that's what's nice about sharing and opening up a little network, not just in your little community, but like with me. Fortunately, I've done work, all over the Eastern United States, and I get a chance to run into some real hardcore people, and I'll send something to them, and you know, they'll either debunk it or say I don't know, and then they can send it on to somebody, or I send it to more people. That's the idea. Try to debunk it as best you can. Always look for truth. That's what we're looking for, truth. There's some things I just can't understand. There's some things I can't explain. You know, you walk into a room and you got a squawk box going. You know, you got one of your scanner radios going. Early on, before the use of guitar pedals, those things used to give me a nosebleed. That was like such a headache listening to those things all night long. I hated them. I didn't use them until I got my first mini box from Joe Piari that he built for me. And you know, you walk into a room and the thing automatically shoots your name out. Tim, you know, it's like, and you're not the only one that heard it, and there's a recorder going. I've had it where I was doing laundry one day in our old house, and I heard I just had it going on because I have these things going on in my house. I'm not afraid of ghosts and demons and all these boogity people running around my house because You know, listen, if they want to hang out with me, that's their problem. But I, I have I was doing laundry, and I had a box going, and I was experimenting it, getting it, trying to tune it in, trying to make it sound good, and a phrase came over it. It was like in a different frequency. It wasn't like what was coming through the rest of the amp. It was different kind of different frequency, and it said as clear as day, "You will scream." And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to scream." So I grabbed my phone and I got my recorder and threw it on there. And I had about a 5-minute session in real time with names and answering questions. That was neat. And it's funny because I sent it out. I wish I had been able to record, "You will scream," of course, but that was like, the little shock intro. And people are like, we don't understand why. Could it be just the fact that it could be a rollover with the scanning? Could be. That's the only thing I can explain. It's just amazing that, a certain name came out several times. And the big thing is like what the Buckland used to talk to us about. If you want to test what's coming through in audio, ask the question three ways, 3 times. And if you do that and you get the same answer every time, chances are that's something, whoever it is or frequency that you're working with, that personality is pretty much probably what it is. If you're getting different names or you're getting different reactions, that's going to be something totally different. So then you have to kind of watch it, So it was great. I mean, so these things are phenomenal. These things are phenomenal, but you got to send it out. You got to share it with some friends. I don't usually put my stuff out in the public because, I really don't care what the public thinks of my stuff. But what I'm doing is I like to go and send it out to my friends and my peers so that I can get their opinion on it. And a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, 75% of the time it's BS. I'm matrixing it, or whatever. And they'll tell me. And that's what's great about having people that are honest with you. And then at the end of the day, you can call them a dirty name and then have a drink with them later on. That's the fun of what we do.
I feel like that's good to like check because like I feel like it makes it more credible when you do find something that can't be really explained. So like it's more credible than just saying that everything you find is
exactly. And I'm going to be honest with you, when you start doing that, and then you go like if you're doing a residential, like we had years ago, we had a nasty residential, really nasty one, and it was like we got this EVP that said Frank, but it sounded like a demon, like those, like the ghost demonic voice, one of those things. And it was on just plain audio, and I sent it out because I don't know. It didn't, at first it didn't sound right to me. And when I got it back, it was basically, it was a whole different spectrum and a whole different frequency thing. And it just really didn't kind of fit in anywhere. And that's when you know that something could be real. And and you don't want to go and just bring garbage evidence to a client, just to make yourself look good. I would rather go to a client and say, listen, I didn't get anything really that good, so we'll go from there. But this one was one of those things that was just really, it was an A. It was a class A all the way. And when I always remember when I played it for her, she just about came off her chair. She almost just, it was like, and then doing some research, I believe, and I'm not quite remember because I can't remember that far back, but if I'm not mistaken, it was the name of a former owner that died in the house. So now we have a correlation to something in the house. So that was really neat. But again, you're bringing something to the table that is, better than just, garbage, because so much of it is like stomach growls and somebody farting or somebody burping or, I mean, how many times have you sat in the room in vigil and it's like, when you play it back, you're hearing demons growling and stuff, or, and you're like, what the hell is that? And it's somebody's, it's JD's stomach over there, from the pizza that he had during lunch or something. Sorry, JD, I threw you under the bus. But I mean, you've got to be able to do that. Or whispering. That's the other thing. That's my pet peeve, is whispering and that stuff. Say it out loud. I don't care. If you whisper that you're all of a sudden you're like shocked. I sent a clip in once, and I didn't know I could make out like voices. You could almost make out words. And when they amped it, which is they use programs much better than what I have, there was somebody asking, well, what are we going to do later on our way home? Meaning where are we going to stop and eat? So it's like, you don't want to go and give that to a client. And again, public investigations are a whole different game than residential, because residential, you're getting pulled in for a reason. You're definitely getting pulled in for a reason. You're just not going out there to, just to, for the fun of it or whatever. You're there to do a job and to help these people. And that's usually the biggest thing.
So yeah, we're definitely going back to that Western Bloc, or I really hope to, because that was a pretty cool place.
Another place that you might want to go to, it's kind of neat, is the Ghost Light Theater in Tonawanda, New York. If you ever get a chance to go up there, that's a neat one too. It used to be an old German church, and now it's a theater, and they do some of course they do some crazy plays in there, like Nosferatu and Night of the Living Dead and that sort of stuff. But it's really got that actually had some activity. I was in there about a month and a half
Amanda
ago.
Wilmer.
Yes,
she was on our podcast before.
She's great.
Yeah,
well,
cool.
I looked up this last time, and I saw like a little boy looking down off this archway on the stage, and where something was knocked in, and I saw him a second time, and his mother, or one of the ladies there, said, "Would you recognize a photo?" And I said, "Well, let me take a look," and showed me a photo, and it was Amanda's brother when he was like that age, let's say 9 or 10 years. He passed, I believe he was 19. But I couldn't believe it, because it was the exact hair, and the jawline was exact. I mean, that just blew my mind. I had something in the basement that happened to me, when I was actually going there to see a play. So yeah, that's a great, that's another great location. Have you guys done Hinsdale yet?
Yes.
I was.
Yeah.
Joe Pierre and I were there in 2011, before any of the stuff got popular, and they were gonna bulldoze it down. As a matter of fact, it was in that bad a shape. My buddy Dan Kless now owns it, but back then, it was they were just gonna just bulldoze it. They had broken all the windows and kicked in the doors and everything. And when we were there back then, it was amazing. We went just to go. We got permission. We just went in there to do a video and photographic survey, and we photographed every room from 4 sides. We're videoing it, and then we went and actually got coffee and came back. And I'm going to tell you what, I was on the stairs looking down, and I saw a girl. At that time, there was a 3-fold door to go upstairs, and she was hanging on the door. I was shocked, and I thought it was a local kid. And then I looked off to the side real quick and looked down. She was gone, and the back door had been nailed shut. There was only one way to get out, and I realized then it was December, like the first week of December. She had no coat on, and I got a hold of Clara Miller now, and I had interviewed her a couple times, and I asked her. I said, "Geez, I know that you guys had seen like a young girl on the property and in the house," and I described the girl. And when she wrote back, she emailed me back, and she said, "You gave me a start. You described my daughter Laura, and Laura was the one who had committed suicide a number of years after they had left the house, but." Clara said that Laura always said that she would always want to come back Anything happened to her, she'd want to come back to the house. And she's not the only one that told me. I interviewed a couple other witnesses that said the same thing. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Was it her? I don't know. Don't know. All I can tell you is there's no way that she could have got away from me. There was no leaves on trees. There was a light snow on the ground. There's no way that she could have got away. There's no way. And that place still, for me, when I go out there, it's very calm. I can, it doesn't bother me. I sleep there, it just doesn't bother me. But when it's jumping, it's jumping. Last time I was there, we were there I was there with some friends, and we were doing talking boards and doing all sorts of different like old school stuff. One of the girls from Texas, she had a REM pod in the living room, and it's late, and we're just going to stay there because the fog was so thick at the end of the driveway. There's no way that I could have safely went down that hill in that fog. It was so thick. So I'm laying on the couch. About 5 o'clock in the morning, guess what happens? That REM pod screams next to me like somebody grabbed the aerial. And, I'm so used to the house now. I jumped, looked around, and I said, damn it. That's actually not what I said, but Sophie would get upset at me if I used the correct word. But I said, will you let me sleep till at least 7 o'clock? What's wrong with you? When I said that, the REM pod shut right off, and that was it, So there might have been somebody or some kind of energetic personality that's wandering around, checking what's going on, and it kind of bumped into it. But yeah, that was a fun night. Those are, the Hinsdale will always be special to me. Always be special because that's one of my very first hardcore, haunted locations that I was able to get into before it got popularized, and that we were able to help just a little bit from getting something like that destroyed, because I hate to say it, but New York State is famous for destroying its mythology. And to me, the whole mythology and the urban legends around and the truths that surround the Hinsdale House should be preserved. It really should be, just like so many other ones.
Yeah, in my area, it's the Dansville Castle. That's a shame to be seeing that go the way it is.
Yeah, that's pretty beat up now. I was down there a few years ago. It was on the edge back then.
But two other active places that aren't as popular, that are definitely as active though, are the Angelica Poorhouse.
Yep, that's a good place.
Owner that's trying to do stuff with it.
Yep, that's a great place. I love that
Hanover
place.
Haunted House.
I've never been to Hanover yet, and everybody says you should go. And hopefully, what I'd like to do is actually do like a solid week where I go to different locations, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and stay overnight at those locations. Just start with fresh equipment every night, fresh recorder, fresh REM pods every night, so that nothing may be attached to it or comes with it. I think that would be great.
So what do you think happens to spirits if the building that they're in wanted to demolish the Hinsdale House? What happens? Do they just stay there? Do they go somewhere else?
A lot of people think that when a house is demolished like that and something is rebuilt on it, that the spirits will kind of reemerge. I was talking with Johnny Zaffis about that, and Johnny was telling me about these this big old Victorian up in New England. That was crazy, just crazy. I mean, it was so haunted. It was like the activity in this place was scary. So they tore it down, and they built 2 duplexes on the property. Nothing happened. Nothing happens. In the one book that I wrote, the C2D1 haunting, it took place in a dormitory at Geneseo State College, and the dormitory is still there. what we found is that, well, after I wrote the book, of course, we found more information that there was evidence of a haunting previous to the 1985 incident. And then I met somebody at, they had done an indie movie out of it. And I met a girl who was there like years later. And she told me that there was a little something going on, but it was nowhere near the amped situation that happened. So what does that mean? To me, that means that, again, it's all energy, and you have to be at the right person at the right place at the right time for everything to blow up. Things can run dormant for years or forever and never reemerge. However, if you got the right person in there, or you get the let's say even a violent situation or a stressful situation, that may be enough to open the door and let it just kind of ooze out again. So that's what I'm thinking it is, because Erie Hall is still there. The room is still there. People still use the room, the quad and everything in the dorm rooms and that area. So there's no, and there really hasn't been any activity in the last few years. We were there I think we were there for something, for an alumni day or something. And I questioned the people that now there's 3 girls that or 6 girls that are in that in the C2D1 area, and none of them. There's nothing else going on. Nothing has gone on there when they were there. So, it's luck of the draw. It's like anything else. I mean, you can have a house that's nothing can happen in it. Nothing. It's as peaceful as they come, and you get the right people in there, right situation, boom. You get people who are chaotic, people who don't take care of the house, hoarders. That's huge. Hoarders. When you look for anything, like we get called in for like a negative case, first thing you look for chaos. You look to see how things are organized, and if things are like really disheveled and the people are kind of disheveled, there's a good chance that there might be something going on that might be negative, because in the spiritualist religion, one of the natural laws that we're taught is like attracts like. So if you have chaos, what's going to come in? You're attracting chaos. So that's one of the things we look for. So yeah, you never know. I mean, that's what you look for. These are little red flags that you find, and not all the time do things carry on. It's like Fort Niagara. I used to be a docent up at Fort Niagara for years. Did I see like crazy stuff? Absolutely, I saw crazy stuff. But on the other hand, I also, nothing really was that big of a deal. Just once something was kind of big that happened, and everything else was just sort of, well, whatever. But again, it's the right person, right place at the right time. See, Sophie, it was so easy. That's easy. That was an easy question.
Shadow people all the way at the beginning. So, like, what is your theory on like shadow people? It's like there's different theories on what they are. Like, what do you personally think that they are?
Shadow people are, as far as I'm concerned, shadow people to me are normally vibrational energies, personalities, and that's just the way they come through the veil, and that's just the way they're shown, just the way that you see them. I've been in situations where I've seen a shadow person. The person next to me saw something totally different. So I think it's in how we conceive and conceptualize what's out there. So that's the way it is. And most shadow people, I've never had a problem with shadow person. I never got scratched or pushed by a shadow person. I've gotten it from some other stuff, but never. To me, they're just like they're there, and it's just sort of like they want you to know that they're there. Something. It's sort of like they're just kind of saying, "Hey, I'm here." So the things that always worry me are like the blobs, because I don't really know what they are, where all of a sudden you have like this huge dark abyss that's kind of moving real slowly in like a clockwise motion, and it starts coming towards you. It happened to us up at Waverly one time, and the this blob or whatever, it kind of starts to block out ambient light, and I don't know what that is, and that sort of concerns me. I don't think it would harm us if we had stayed there, but I think it's just, I'm not sure if it's just like a lot of energy. I'm not sure if, let's say, there's a ley line underneath there or a couple crossed ley lines, energy lines underneath the place, or underground water. I don't know enough to say that if it's strong enough. All I got to say is it's huge. When it's that big, I kind of like that. Listen, if it's bigger than me, I'm going to start walking backwards. I am. I'm not going to lie. Because I don't understand it at that point. Mm-hmm. And that's only happened a couple times. And we just said, and the other thing that usually comes with that is we get that discernment in the solar plexus, usually more than one person. One person in the group will get it. And at that point, usually it's like, okay, we've had enough of your nonsense. Time for you guys to go. That's usually what that is. That's like a Ouija board when the planchette goes down and says goodbye. Mm-hmm. That's when you end. Sad enough.
Shadow people kind of scare me. I only have one of like a shadow person, but like it just always gave me like bad vibes. Like I felt like it was like, like you walk into somewhere, you feel like them watching you. It was watching me everywhere in my house, in my childhood home in Kings Park. But like it didn't feel like it was just looking at me. I felt like it was kind of like stalking me like around the house. Like it just felt off. And then the room that I saw it in like was always like cold, and I always never wanted to go in there because it scared me as a kid. I think it was something bad. I don't know what it was, but it looked like a man.
See, with me, it's like, so you believe, so you are. And for me, it's like, you got to be in control of every situation that's psychic in nature. You've got to be in control. This is bullshit if you're not. I am so anal about it being in control. And when I walk into a place, it's commanding. It's like in my house. Listen, I know there's stuff that walks around my house. I know it. I don't want it because it's my house. My house becomes now my sanctuary, where I get away from all the craziness that I do. So I don't want to. You can, listen. The energetic personalities can hang out all they want down here, walk through the house, whatever. But I don't want to see you. I don't want to know you're here. I don't want to hear you. Put that right out there, and I've never had a problem with it. But again, I mean that's a lot of training, and you have to really believe it 100%. It's hard to believe 100% when you're scared. It's really hard to do. With me, it doesn't. I've had so many experiences like that. I shouldn't say so many experiences. I'll just say that I've had enough experience to know that you got to be in control of all your situations. And you have to set boundaries for yourself and stick to them and just say, forget it, that we're done. And that's the way I am with my seances, the way I am with we were doing on board the USS Edson, we were working with a talking board. And guess what comes through? Z-O-Z. And I said, come on. I just go, yeah, right. And people, when that happens, you can almost just hear people's fannies like pucker up because they're just so afraid of it. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's like, right. Really? Yeah. Okay. And I'll challenge it. Like everybody goes, oh, don't poke the devil or whatever. I don't care about that. Listen, I know you ain't Zozo. If you were Zozo, you'd be doing something already before coming through. So I'm not afraid of you. Don't give me this crap. And people are like, they get shocked when I get like that, but I get really crazy because there's like all this different types of spirits out there. And you got to remember, one of the most common types of spirits are parasitical spirits. And they don't have a body, so they can't like absorb, any kind of food or anything, what they do absorb is energy and frequency. So there's the highest frequencies, of course, are love and that sort of stuff and joy. But pretty high up there on the level is hatred and jealousy and being afraid and all that. So they're doing stuff to elicit a response. So they're trying to scare you. Everybody go, oh, and then they're sucking that stuff in and they get stronger, And I always tell people, don't worry about it. If they Zozo, no, I don't think so. Listen, if it was a demon or something that was that strong negatively on an energetic level, it would have already opened up a can of whoop ass on me way before it started spelling it out on a Ouija board. But Zozos are, it got popular. It's sort of like one of those. It's like the Ouija board when they started getting unpopular. A lot of nasty stuff came through Ouija boards over the years, and it's influenced people that have killed other people and have lost fortunes and got people. Couples have gotten divorced and all sorts of stuff over what comes through a Ouija board. You gotta have common sense with this stuff, and you just gotta say no. And you gotta have experience. I mean, I've used them since I've been a kid, and I'm not afraid of them. I got 70 of them right here on the other side of the other side of the wall here. I got them all. Those are just the newer ones. I got the other ones up on display. So I'm not afraid of those things at all. You just have to go and you just have to be careful with it and understand something. If this thing was that bad, it would have already scratched you. It would have pushed you. You would have known it long before it started spelling its name out.
I guess I did that like unintentionally with the shadow person because I was like getting freaked out. But I had a babysitter who was also into like spirituality and stuff like that. And she was like, don't give it energy. Just like pretend it's not there. And then like, because at first I was freaking myself out. And then like the freaking out, the more stuff that would happen around my. And then like once I started taking her advice and just like, okay, just ignoring it, like just pretending it's not whatever, then like it just like eventually kind of just stopped. So like,
do you see how that works? That's the big thing. Whenever we do we have to work with a negative case. Okay, we go in there, do our thing, and then you have to go and you have to sit down and you have to educate the people, the clients. Big things that you don't want to do. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to give it energy. You don't want to go. And just by opening your mouth and saying, we had something going on, you can open a friggin' door. The thing can come back if you want, I'm a firm, I don't really believe in a lot of natural portals, but I do believe in artificial portals where you can create something where these vibratory personalities can come through. So I'm one of these people that it's like, listen, I want you not to even think about this thing. I don't want you to even talk about it. Let's try a week and see what happens. And at the end of a week, if they really tried their hardest, very little activity happens. So what does that mean? That we're actually the ones that act as antennas or whatever that bring this stuff in, and they try to go and they try to push you around. And there are, we're taught that when somebody passes, you don't change that much. Really, you don't. So if you're a dick on this side, they're going to be a dick on the other side. And people don't get that at all. People don't get that. Or, you got to, you just don't go and you don't give it what it wants. And then it disappears slowly. And that was perfect what you guys did. Perfect. Just ignore it.
So I kind of had a different reaction. So when I was at the Western Block there and seen the shadow figure, immediately I wanted to get scared, right? Because it's like, I just seen this. I've never seen this before. Something was there. But then I'm like, it never scratched me. It never sweared at me. It never did anything negative. Right. So it's not like it's automatically negative because it's a shadow person. It's just something that I happen to see.
Exactly.
It was unexplainable.
Do you know how many times I got sworn at? I wish I had a nickel for every F-bomb I've gotten on an EVP. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you at all because it's hysterical. I mean, I walked into a barn in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. A friend of mine owns a field. It was a field hospital in the Confederate retreat. Walked into a barn. All these people got the scanner's going, walk in, and guess what it says? Asshole. That's what it says. I walk in. Then it says my name immediately after. And I'm like standing there going, really? That's the best that you got? Come on. And I laugh at it. Guess what? Done. Nothing. Before that had, been dropping some F-bombs and everybody was like, oh my God. I had walked in there from being in the house, just did that, and everything just leveled right out. That just means that, I wasn't there to play. You're not going to go and you're not going to get me upset. You're not going to, and that was it. And then everybody was mad at me because then I just put the damper on the party, man. That was the end. That was the end of it. They didn't get anything else after that. But that's the way it works.
Also with spirit boards, Ouija boards, do you think that we are able to use it just as a tool for communicating with spirits, or does it always open a portal?
Whenever you do any kind of tool of divination, you're opening up a portal. That's what you're doing. And
which includes dowsing rods and pendulums and that stuff.
I'm not so much about dowsing rods because that's more earth energy, and you're actually the antenna that's actually using it through idiosyncratic motor response. But same thing with pendulums. But whenever you're doing something like that, and if you're doing table tipping and board work, it kind of opens up I personally believe it opens up an artificial portal. So that's why you have to do it you have to really make sure that you're doing it in a, like how we conduct seances, open it, state why you're doing it. What we're doing this for is to open up intelligent communication. And if you want to do it with if you're looking to talk to somebody, state the name, do the work the board. Again, respect the board, because I remember as a kid, I kept saying goodbye, and we didn't want it to stop, and it started F-bombing us. And I was probably 8th, 9th grade, probably 8th grade, and it got real nasty. And then whenever we tried to work with that board, so I believe that boards have like almost individual personalities. And when we tried to work with that board, it always just was really, saying swearing and stuff. So when it says goodbye, you say goodbye. And I don't know if you guys do this with the scanners or not, but I do it. I say, listen, guys, okay, we're closing this session out. I'm going to count back from 5 to 1. Everybody go. Everybody's got to go. That's the way it works. Nobody stays back. Everybody's got to go. Anybody that came through, let's go. 5, 4, and then I count backwards, and then I go and I just say I officially close the session now. Done. And now I have never had a problem doing that in anything. Dowsing rods, I do use them for some communication. Now I also use pendulum with a pendulum wheel, with an alphabet wheel, so that it starts spelling stuff out. But a lot of times that is subconscious movement, because you're actually getting it in. You're the antenna that's coming in through you, but you're actually, believe it or not, you're actually manipulating it in really these micro movements. And so I believe that that's a little bit different. But I mean, a lot of people have different opinions on it. I learned dowsing from some old time grizzly guys out there that they used it for finding water and and finding all sorts of crazy stuff. And we used it for finding cemeteries, witness chamber pendulums and dowsing rods when we're on the field. And so I think it's just a little bit better, a little bit different. I mean, you're actually using yourself rather than trying to go and bring something in. And like seance is, and I'll be honest with you, seance, you can use Ouija boards in them, because seance, or I should say Ouija boards, sometimes is considered physical phenomena, because you're producing something, not just an apparition. You're actually producing something with it. Same thing with table tipping. Table starting to move. It's a little bit, you're producing something. We were taught that as kids, so that we wouldn't be afraid of physical phenomena, like something, how many times, I don't know if it's happened to you, but I mean, I'll put a recorder down on the table and that thing will just go boom, this guy get thrown off on the floor, this way it doesn't like shock you when that stuff happens. It gets you ready for that stuff. So I mean, that's the difference. I think I have yet to find anybody that's ever been gotten attachment from dowsing rods. Maybe a cow follows you home. That's about it when you're out looking in the fields for a well or something. But no, that's just, to me, it's a little different. But I think what's important is that you use protection in all things whenever you're working in the metaphysical or the physical or the paranormal. And I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got different ways of doing it. My mentor just said, listen, if you live a decent life and you believe that you're protected, so you are. So, I mean, I don't do any kind of certain rituals to go into locations or when I'm working or if I'm doing readings. It doesn't bother me. That's just the way I am. But I mean, whatever works for somebody else, you do, it's good for them, because basically what it is a cognitive reinforcement of your belief system. And that's what's more important than anything else.
Do you think, so you mentioned like Ouija boards, pendulums, and like dowsing rods. Do you think like runes and tarot cards, is it like the same thing as like pendulums, or is it?
They're openings. What they are is they're cues. And I do believe that nothing is by chance. So you're actually using these cues. So it's always good to use protection when you're reading them. Anything that you're doing where you may be getting a message, you're doing work in precognition or retrocognition, is very, very important to make sure that you're in control. And one of the aspects of being in control is feeling protected. Because sometimes, you'll get something. There's some like energies out there that just mess with your mind, because you'll be pulling cards and like it'll all be negative right along the line. You say, wait a minute, what the hell is this? You do a draw and it's like, what is this? No, it's wrong. And what you do, you stop, just kind of clear yourself out. I'm going to do this again and check a second time, and you'll see the whole thing will be different. So that anything that you're working with that is a tool of divination, always good to be protected. Always good to have some precautions with it.
That's happened to me before, where like the cards came out and I was like, this doesn't seem right, and then I'll redo it and it's like something completely different.
But that's exactly it. Now you see, you're not using your common sense. You're using your gut on that. That's what's important, because your gut feeling is what will really keep you on the level with it. Because I don't even know how many times I've done a reading for somebody, and I'll just sit there and go, this doesn't make sense to me. None of this makes sense to me. What I just told you makes no sense to me. So let's just stop. Let me just start again. And then stuff will start coming out that is a little bit more verifiable with the person. And it changes the whole candor of it. And that's what you need to do. So yeah, listen to your, your inner compass there to let you know what's right, what's wrong. But after a while, you'll build up a confidence level where you just don't, like, you're just like bang. But that comes with cognitive knowing. You know that you're that good. This is what you do, and this is how you should be working with it. And that just comes with practice and working with it. But that's you did. Sophie, JD, give her a gold star. She has to have a gold star for that one, because that was natural. That good for you.
Thank you. My family's has been into like witchcraft, stuff like that for like a long time. But it's kind of ironic, because it's like half of them are like super religious, like Catholics, and the other half does like witchcraft. But they all do kinds of witchcraft. Like the one that my grandma does is like absolutely not.
You'll be surprised. My good friend Onyx, she's Strega. That's her tradition of Strega, which is Sicilian. And her grandmother had all these unbelievable folk ways of doing things, which is witchcraft, which is partially the Strega tradition. But if you called her a witch, she'd beat you with a broom. I always remember Onyx saying that. but it's true because a lot of this stuff is. And I mean, there's a book out. It's called Christian Voodoo, and you start seeing how a lot of the voodoo practitioners would hide their beliefs, with mix them with Christian beliefs.
Like
You have a lot of the Brazilian spiritualism down there that is highly mixed in with Christianity and even older religions. So I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, even Catholics, when you start looking at it, you got holy water, communion. You pray to saints for the intercession and help of saints. You leave offerings. A lot of this is all like pagan in at its basics. And again, I went to a lecture with a former Jesuit priest. He's a theologian at Georgetown University, and he married a hardcore spiritualist. And the lecture was great because seriously, it meshed so well. Of course, I mean, there's the deity of Christ and that sort of thing is a little iffy, but everything else was really the same. And what the problem was is they were the same, but they were called different things, and they were done slightly different. So you could tell that, how one thing was, kind of modified from the other. So yeah, it's that's the way it is. And if you go through Appalachia now, you've got Appalachia hoodoo, and that's a hybrid between the old pagan ways, Native American ways. You have voodoo and you have Christianity all mixed in together. You're born with the veil over the eyes. That means that you've got the sight and that sort of stuff. It's pretty fascinating when you start breaking that down. That's the fun of what we do, And you're lucky, Sophie, because so many people are just born into one religion and don't have these other influences. You got to have all the, you got to get out there and have the influences. You got to have fun with it. You got to understand it, because the more you understand, the more wondrous and mysterious the world becomes, and you don't get burned out. I've never gotten burned out yet. I've been doing this for a long time, and it just gets better every chance every day I do this. But then we think JD came in a spaceship. We know the mothership is waiting for JD now. I just want to let you know.
So what I've actually been trying to find some information on is Hungarian gypsy witches, because that's where my
look under Ray Buckland has
is.
got gypsy magic, and
what is it?
It's I believe the name of the book is called Gypsy Magic by the late Raymond Buckland, because he was basically he was I'm not sure which tradition, but I knew he came from gypsy heritage. So check that out. Check that out. I think you can find it online. If you look up for Ray Buckland, go on eBay, look for cheap books like I do, and I'm sure it's on there someplace. Hell, he had a gypsy wagon at his house he had a hobby farm. He had a gypsy wagon sitting right there. You could actually sleep, and it was that big of a wagon.
Yeah, I know that the gypsies have always done witch cultures and stuff. And I know that I am actually related to Hungarian gypsies. So
yeah, it's all folkways. You got to remember, it's all folkways. They did that for centuries, and that's the life it's a lifestyle. If you're looking for something that's like really something that you could practice, yeah, I would look under him. I was gonna say Gardner, like Gerald Gardner, but he was more on the island. He did a lot of anthropological work with the old traditions in Britain and Wales and Ireland. So you'd probably have to look for something on the continent. So yeah, that would be a good place to start.
I would say mine's like eclectic. Like my grandma, she does more like darker things, like dark, like hoodoo, voodoo kind of. But like,
no, I can't believe. JD, can you believe this? Can you believe this?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like use what I feel like for me. Like I just collect different things.
Be a hybrid. Be eclectic.
Mhm.
The one thing that I mean, my personal brand of spiritualism, you didn't use any tools except for seance. You use a spirit trumpet or tambourine or a bell or something like that. But basically, no tools for divination. None whatsoever. Everything was mental mediumship. Uh, ask if when you guys talk to Frank Kupka again, ask him about my red cabinet. I have a cabinet here that's full of some of my how can I describe it? Some of my interesting things that I use, to make to make Gruyere bags, or I use them for I use a lot of graveyard dirt for uh, clearing places, clearing houses, going and doing I have iron spikes, for the driving outside, driving to the ground outside your house, for protection. I have a lot of that. I also have candles, and I have a lot of oils, and Frank particularly likes the one oil that I buy at my favorite Santeria shop. It's called Destroy Everything. So I have things like that in there. So you should always have a bunch of different belief systems, and take what works for you. I mean, I don't know if you guys use like a Book of Shadows or not. I'm a big believer in those because of the fact that they're recipe books, and you know I was up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. We're up at the top of the Mitten, and I ran into somebody who was a practitioner, and we were talking, and she gave me this kick ass spell. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't wait to go up to my room and write it down. And then when I came home, I transferred it into the Book of Shadows. So I always have it, and that's what's fun about that, to do it. And then you got like you can have all your the different spells of to cleanse. And I'm not a big love spell guy, but I mean, there's a lot of different things. But my favorite ones are shut the f up, people that talk behind your back and that sort of stuff. Not that JD does. JD does not say anything bad about anybody. We know that. But there's a lot of different really neat traditions how to do that, how to bind somebody, how to banish somebody. These are things that are kind of important when you are a worker. And these are things that you can use for yourself, or sometimes you can use for other people. Like I only work for very, very close people when it comes to that sort of stuff. But that's what you do. So be eclectic. If you're eclectic, that just means that you're not stuck in one tradition. Because I know a lot of people that are really into Wicca, a lot of people that are into the Norse the Norse traditions, Strega and all that. I'm not. I'm rather eclectic.
Yeah, I just started trying to get into like Norse stuff now, and like Egyptian stuff, like Chemetics. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
get Chemetics and Norse things, because when I was younger, it was mostly like Wicca. Because, like I said, my family was super religious, but they took me to Salem, and then my mom taught me about Wicca. So then that was what I did like when I was younger, and then like
Mm-hmm.
learning about other things. That's when I started like branching out. But then only as of like recent, I've started doing like Chemetics and like Norse stuff. Like I just kind of did like my own thing in between, and then now I'm trying to like just start gathering everything from all
Right.
places.
Whatever works. That's whatever resonates with you and whatever works. That's the secret behind it. Too many people worry about the nuts and bolts of stuff, or the what are I have to be part of something. No, you don't. You can be a solitaire. You don't have to be Wiccans are. I always remember Ray telling me Wiccans were like witches, but don't call yourself a witch unless you're a follower of Wicca. Call yourself a magician. And that's the way that I've always referred to myself. And because of the fact I don't believe in, again, just like spiritualism, I don't believe in a lot of the principles of Wicca. The threefold rule, I don't believe in that. Believe me, if somebody needs a kick in the ass, there's no gray area that's going to come back at you. It's just the way it is. If you're not irresponsible with what you're doing, you won't have a problem with it. And that's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. It's like it's like with anything that you do, anything in life.
I had to like learn that because, like I said, I started off with Wicca and I was like threefold, but then like pretty messed up. They kind of deserve something, so why would that come back on me? And then after a while, I was like, you know what? Like, if someone deserves something, then well, I mean, they got it coming. Like,
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I mean, a lot of times people will go and say, well, that's how you know that the spell has worked, because you feel it. I'm going to be honest with you. Never had that happen yet. Don't expect it to happen yet. And I know that the results have always bore out that whole principle. So yeah, I think that was in there as just something that's like for safety, for people that didn't run off and do crazy stuff, like irresponsible stuff. You don't want to do. But I mean, if somebody deserves it, you have an abuser. My friend Onyx in her back room, to walk out, she's a smoker, so she goes out and she goes into this little parking lot behind out of her shop, and you walk in order to get out, you walk on a big manhole cover. And I said to her one day, why have you got this manhole cover in here? Why? This is not even high enough for a step to get out. And she goes, well, what's underneath it? I said, well, what's underneath it? She goes, these are the names of people who are either wife abusers, pedophiles, or really have done something to somebody really bad. She casts, she puts them underneath there, and every day she steps on them. So it kind of refreshes the spell. Has she ever had anything bad like that come at her? No, because it was something for the higher good. That's what you look for. There's no gray area to me. You got that razor's edge, and it depends how hardcore you are, that the closer you come to that razor's edge, the more powerful it is. Mm-hmm. Right, JD? You know it, baby.
Yeah, because I was thinking that too, because like I don't think people should just go around like just because someone irritates you, just like putting all these things on them. But like, I mean, if someone deserves it, then like actually the first time I never tried it until like a couple months ago, right? But then I was like, these people deserve it. But then I was like still thinking about if like thing actually is true about the threefold. And then I was like, you know what? Well, I think I can handle whatever consequences come about this. And so I did it. Honestly, nothing happened. So
exactly. If it's for the right reason, you're not going to have a problem. You're never going to have a problem if it's for the right reason. Too many people out there are flippant. They use it for, they just use it. They use it for like personal, like silly things. And you know what? If somebody calls you a name, who cares? Look at the source. If somebody's it talks behind your back, okay, that's one thing. If someone is vindictively talking behind your back, then you got something, you have a reason for it. These are things that you have to weigh. And if you can actually say, yeah, I think they deserve something, there you go. It's not like just, well, they bumped me in line, which, believe me, I've had people come up and say, this guy bumped me in line and this is what he looks like. And I took a picture of myself. I'm not going to do anything for that. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So you have to watch it. You just got to be, careful what you do.
Like honestly, just I like kind of like, I guess you could say like karma, like just give it back to them pretty much. So like if you're talking like vindictive, like what you said, that actually was my reasoning behind it. Because people were like literally trying to like ruin my life. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to send it back to you. And so I sent it back and it worked. Like, because I'm like, you want to do it to me? I'm just going to send it back. I'm not going to do extra to you, but I'm just going to send whatever you're doing to me back to you.
Exactly. And there's different things you can do. Binding rituals and shut the F up rituals and banishing rituals out of your life and that sort of thing. It's all, depends on your comfort level. And I have a friend that really had trouble with her ex-husband. And I said to her, you know what to do. I told you how to do it. And she goes, well, I don't know. I still don't feel, I'm just afraid of it. And I'm like, well, then you better not do it, because that's where it screws up. And that little fear is what opens up the chinks of armor in you, and that's where you can get everything back at you. But if you're sure, do it. Pull the stops out and do it. Although we know we will never cast on JD because he's got great hair today. I'm just going to tell you, he's got great hair.
Just because of Harry?
I wish I had hair. Are you kidding me or what?
How about you, JD? Have you ever done any of that?
I have not gone into witch or magician work yet. Even though the past vice president definitely had gotten me interested, basically, in the witchcraft and stuff.
It's good to learn, kiddo. Good to learn. Always, because you never know. Because sometimes you come into paranormal cases that I've been cursed. They did a ritual in my house. I've had a lot of those over the years. And you got to know how to respond to it. You know, you got to be like, walk in there and say, yeah, okay, we'll take care of this. You know, sometimes it comes down to a pentagram that's burned in the floor. And it's like, well, I think you're gonna need a belt sander for this one and get rid of it. But you got to know how to work with it and everything. And that's huge. That is huge. The more that you learn, again, that's why I always say you have to be able to go into different traditions. And a lot of times, paranormal investigation isn't just about meters and recorders and cameras and that sort of thing. Sometimes it's about metaphysics and traditions. And that's why another thing you got to look for is when you do your initial interviews in a residential, take into consideration the spiritual background of the people, because that will tell you how to proceed when you start doing the clearings, so that it's reinforced cognitively in their brains that things are actually going to get better. It's really important. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I've gotten people that are like, well, I think we opened a portal during a ritual we did. So, well, tell me about it. And from there, we can kind of figure out how and why and what we can do about it. It's so important. I always like to have somebody on a team that has a specialty like that. Just so that just so it's a little, I would say, just, more rounded.
Yeah, that is something we've been able to have with the club, is just the different types of ideas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, since the club was founded, we've had a witch psychic member able to show that side of it, interact with that side of it,
and know how to work with them. This is something that I teach in my paranormal classes. A lot of times mediums and psychics overtake the investigation.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's easy. Sometimes. I mean, you have to ring yourself back. So what I do is, if I don't belong to a team per se, I mean, I hang out with a lot of crazy people, and I get a chance to work. I get a lot of chances to work with really super teams, and I always ask them, now, how do you want me to work? And they'll look at me and they'll, what do you mean? I said, in excuse me, in the A column, I will go through the place, and what I will do is I will make a recording of what I feel as I go through the house. Then I will give you the recording, and then I leave. I go. My job is done. Or B, do you want me to help out with that, do something like that, and do you want me to go and use meters? See, when I first started out, you had psychics and then you had paranormal investigators. The two of them didn't mix. They really didn't. Because the psychics and mediums all said, why do we need meters? I'm getting all this stuff. Well, you're getting it, but nobody else is getting it. So, you got no proof or anything. What's coming out of your mouth, we don't know is real. So in column B, what I'll do is I'll just go and I'll say, listen, this is the way I work. I will be quiet. I'll do the walkthrough if you want. I'll be quiet. If you ask me what I feel in a room, I will tell you. But otherwise, I'll be quiet and I'll work my meters and I'll record and I'll use I'll use my tools, and then we'll compare notes at the end of the night. So you have to really take control of, and you got to kind of really make sure that you put, like, psychics and mediums, tell them exactly what you want. Because it's so easy. Because you can walk into places and go, just get overwhelmed and just go from room to room to room. And everybody else is standing there going, I just paid $250 for this piece of equipment and I can't use it because this guy's running around, and showboating. So no, you got to do that. And that's the way I like to do that, because it gives, if they don't want me to work, I understand that. I don't take anything personally. They don't want me to work, stay there and hang out. But if they want me to stay there and work with them, and I'm always happy to help. It's like, again, on the USS Edson, we did a light seance, and what do you want me to do? How do you want me to approach this? It's almost got to be like a production. How do you want me to approach this? Do you want me to do this or this? And if you do that, you'll never have a problem. Nobody gets mad. It's great. Everybody across the board is satisfied. But just tell them right up front. And besides, listen, I'm old. I can be in bed by midnight. You guys can stay out till like 5 a.m. I can be sleeping. That's what's important for me.
You've mentioned curses. So have you gotten cursed by like spirits or in your house, or do you mean like cursed by people?
By people.
Oh my God, why would you do that?
Listen, everybody can't get along with everybody. Okay, that's all I got to say. That's all I got to say.
I remember like just walked into someone's house and was like, let me go curse them. Like, what?
You'd be surprised. You'll be surprised.
I guess there's good and
no, people now there's a thing that I believe is something that happens as a generational curse, where it goes down through the generations. It's like a bad luck curse. And so sometimes it's not even their fault. And you can tell. I mean, there's some earmarks that you have to look for when you're doing the interviews, and some of the phenomena that happens kind of leads into it. So you have to watch it. But some people, I'll be honest with you, some people just get into an argument. I know a paranormal team that they split up and one side cursed the other side. People do that. And the people that got cursed, they were really worried. And that gave them a lot of psychological tension and stuff. And of course, that builds a lot of different things up, so that, almost into hysterics. So, you've got to be able to approach that with, on 2 levels, a psychological and a metaphysical level. And you got to cleanse them and you got to work with them. And then you got to go and you got to stop them from being vengeful and like throwing a curse back at them or something, which can happen. So yeah, you gotta, I've witnessed it. I've witnessed paranormal teams. I know one of the early shows that I was on, a Ghost Lab with the Kling brothers. They had 2 witches on the show, or on their team, and something happened. I forget what it was, and they asked them, well, I don't really think that we're working out. This is not the direction we want to go in, and they cursed them. They said curses on the rest of the team. It's like, people, but that's being flippant. That's being, that's being childlike. Mm-hmm. That situation, that's coming back at you, because that really doesn't mean anything. It means nothing in the long run of things. Being on a show or TV, it means nothing in the long run of things. If they had actually done something bad to them, I could see it, but nothing was bad. So we don't know whatever happened to the 2 witches, but All I can say is I'm sure it was a boomerang effect.
Yeah. What are like some signs? Because you said that there were signs like that you can get like during interviews. Like, what would be like some like things that people can see, like pick up on?
Nightmares. Number 1, nightmares. Number 2, a string of bad luck that isn't just coincidental. And by that I mean, somebody can back into your car. Okay. You go home, something happens in the house. Is that coincidence? You have a string of them. It's bad luck without it breaking. And it's at normal, or I should say at regular intervals. Watch for that. That's real careful. That's something you really have to watch for. The reactions of animals. If you have, your pets, watch the reaction of animals. That's something that you have to watch. If you have birds, they get quiet. Very quiet. They stop chirping. These are things you got to look for. But again, some classic paranormal stuff, cold spots, because whatever it is building energy. And also, in a lot of curses, you've created a thought form. Now, that thought form could be in that house somewhere. So now you have to really go and hunt for this thought form. And the best way to do it to get rid of it is to actually go through a cleansing ritual, whatever you want to use. I don't use sage. I like to use frankincense because most of the people I've worked with they have like Roman Catholic backgrounds. So by using frankincense, it triggers something in their brains that it's working. They believe in it. It's something that they experience as kids. But the best thing to do is to turn off your electricity. Turn the electricity off right to the house, because if everything is vibrational in nature, and this thought form that could have been created through a curse or a generational curse is still around you, it can actually hide in the wires, in the electrical current. So I have the electricity turned off to the house. Then I go through the ritual, whatever we're using, and I wait about 10 minutes and then bring the power back on and then see what happens. But yeah, you've got to watch it. This is nightmares. So people really, have nightmares a few times a week. And if you don't have a medical reason for it, there might be something else going on there. But coincidences, all of a sudden it's like negative stuff going on constantly. Bad luck, one thing after another.
I've had but it was like the stupidest reason. It was because like someone was jealous of me, and I'm like, why? Like, it's not my fault that you're jealous. Like,
but that's it. I mean, and that's something that you want to go and you want to put like a banishing thing to, or you just want to out of my life. You're toxic, out of my life. You don't need toxic people. And jealousy, for the most part, is one of those emotions that it's just like, it's senseless. It's like, you know what? You're jealous of what's going on. You're jealous of A, B, C, D. Well, then, you know what? You should be changing your life, not directing at me. So, I mean, you can put up a protection ritual. You can go and put the banishing ritual. You can even bind them if you want. One of the best ones I know for binding, my little sister Marla is a solitary witch out in California, and she goes and writes their name on a piece of paper and puts it in an ice tray and freezes them out. That's a real good one. That's a real simple, cheap one. But I'll be honest with you, because the bottom line is intent. So, the actual ritual itself is reinforcing the cognitive belief, but it works. It works. JD, I don't want you going freezing my name now. I'm telling you right now. JD's sitting here going, I'm going to listen to this later on. I'm going to be using some of this stuff on.
Writing everything down.
No, I shouldn't ever have to use any of that stuff.
You shouldn't. I have, but
Okay, seems like a good place to wrap up the podcast, even though, well, we just got a comment. I believe in the paranormal.
Wow.
So do all of us. But, even though we could talk for days about a lot of stuff, seems like a good place to wrap up this podcast.
Sounds cool. Hey, it was an honor to be on. I love you guys. It's so cool. Thank you for inviting me on. And I know and JD, I'm like, I appreciate you having patience because, I'm a retired guy. So like my schedule is like insane because I do, I'm out there doing so much stuff. So it was so nice of you to be able to go and set this up.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Great opportunity.
Great time.
Probably end up working with you on something or hanging out
Sure.
sometime.
I'm sure. Maybe next time you come up to Western Block, I'll bop up.
Cool.
It's not that far away. And Sophie, I don't want you to be going and like using all sorts of like candle magic and destroy everything oil, okay?
I won't.
Just be good. Just be the two of you. Be good.
Yeah. Well, this is the end of the spooky second podcast by the Alfred State Paranormal Investigation Urban Exploration Club. Thanks for our guest, Tim Shaw, coming out tonight and joining us. He's going to be doing his show tomorrow for his latest project that he worked with. I forgot his name.
Steve Shippey.
Okay. That's tomorrow. You can check it out on his account.
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station, kids.
Okay. And we'll be posting about our next show. So have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Jazz hands.